Welcome back. A lot of storylines to follow ahead of week 4 in the college football season. 7 teams set to make their conference debut in a new league, including 3 of the 4 ranked matchups on the slate, which means we've got another edition of What If coming your way. We'll see how some of those games impact the betting down the line. And to do so, we bring in SportsLine betting analyst Mackenzie Brooks and host of the Cover 3 podcast, Chip Patterson, joining us as well. Guys, we're going to get started with our Big Ten game of the week happening on CBS. Michigan hosting USC. They are home underdogs in that one, I should say. But the big storyline here is this. Alex Orji is set to get the start. What if, Mackenzie, I'll come to you first here. What if Alex Orji leads Michigan to a Big Ten win over USC?
What if? And it's not impossible, I will say. We have them covering the spread, so it certainly is possible. But if they do pull off this win, they nearly double their playoff chances here. We have them with 10.7% chance to make the playoffs right now. Now, if they can win this game, that goes to almost 20%, 19.3. But if they lose this game, let's not forget that is a 3.8% chance to make the playoffs. So this is basically, in my eyes, a must-win game for Michigan. You see USC around a 38% chance right now, jump to over 50 if they win this game. So USC backers, if you like them to win this game, I would get your playoff ticket on them now because this will just get pricier.
Chip, I want to come to you and ask you about the quarterback conversation and all of this as well, because we know that it was a great story and Davis Warren and, you know, getting that start, but it's Alex Orji's turn to take over. What do you expect out of him based on what you just heard from Mackenzie there in terms of the betting?
Well, yeah, I think that Michigan's just going to be better if they've got offensive confidence. You know, I was putting myself in the position of the offensive line when you were essentially having to prepare for 2 entirely different offenses. Davis Warren, more pro style, more drop back passing. And then instead you go to Alex Orji, again with Khalil Mullings kind of taking over for Donovan Edwards at running back. Now it's a lot more of the zone read, a lot more of the quarterback run. And instead of trying to get explosive plays down the field, throwing the ball, you are essentially turning yourself into a more one-dimensional offense. But there is some freedom into knowing your identity. And so with this decision, with benching Davis Warren and going with Alex Orji, that what I see is Michigan's chance to be able to give themselves the best opportunity to win this football game. I think it gives Michigan a lower ceiling if they go with a more one-dimensional, run-heavy offense, but I also think it raises their floor because of the consistency. So making the quarterback change gives them the best chance to win this week, but I don't think it gives them a better chance to beat Oregon. I don't think it gives them a better chance to beat Ohio State. Your path to the playoff is to have to win all of the other games from here on out, starting with USC. So to me, it stabilizes Michigan's season, but lowers their chances of winning a national championship.
Surprising number here that I found in our research packet, by the way, about USC. Their defense was terrible last year. Now they're allowing just 10 points per game. So something else to keep in mind there when we look at a quarterback change for Michigan. Again, that is our Big Ten on CBS game of the week. Our crew will be live in Ann Arbor. Let's move on and talk about our next topic here. I know what will happen if OU loses this matchup for our Amanda Guerra, but nonetheless, they are hosting Tennessee in this one. They are one of those 7 teams getting a start in a new conference here. So, Mackenzie, I ask you the question, what if Tennessee keeps things rolling and they take down OU in their SEC opener this weekend?
In our eyes, they've really become a playoff lock. We have them moving to an 82, almost 83% chance to make the playoffs. So they're sitting around minus 200 right now. I think that will probably go to minus 600 if they win this game. We're pretty in line with the odds makers on how we feel about both these teams, considering we have basically the same projected score. So that tells us we feel the same way and the same effect on these teams. So I would definitely get in those tickets if you do like Tennessee to make the playoffs. Now, one other thing to think about here is Nico Heisman odds as well. He is climbing up that board, and if he has a great game against this Oklahoma team, I think those odds just get shorter as well.
Chip, what are your thoughts on Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava, and all the things happening right now in Vols Nation?
Oh, the first thing I would say is to focus on the Nico side of this all, because I think that Nico right now, not as a knock to him, but he is riding the momentum of a defense that has been playing lights out and of a running back in Dylan Sampson that has been one of the best runners in the country. You know, Nico had a couple interceptions earlier in the year. He's had a couple of bad passes. This is the stage where he could be able to take all of this momentum that hasn't quite lined up with super consistent play and to be able to deliver a performance for the ages. is. You know, there are several quarterbacks that are in the mix right now in a Heisman race where you could imagine lots of different names being able to take a step forward. Few will have a stage like Nico Iamaleava will. Oklahoma's defense is very, very good. We all respect what Brent Venables has done with that side of the ball. If Nico can put together his best football, which again, we have not seen over the course of 4 quarters, ooh-wee, then yeah, Nico Heisman odds, you better get that on Thursday, because yesterday's price will not be today's price after that.
Listen, I've been on the Tennessee bandwagon ever since they beat Alabama and the guys threw the goalpost in the river. So I'm rolling with the Vols here.
It just means more in the SEC.
It just means more goalposts, more scores, all the things. All right, let's keep it rolling here. We're going to talk South Florida, Miami. This is interesting to me because we've kind of got some different layers when it comes to this. What if South Florida keeps it close against Miami? Of course, this is a South Florida team that's given Alabama some trouble in back-to-back seasons, maybe trying to disrupt that momentum that the U is trying to be back so bad, Mackenzie. But what if this happens this weekend?
Yeah, we wanted to talk, we always talk about playoff implications and Heisman odds, but let's take a look in the head coach market. We're going to turn our attention to the Florida Gators, who I think if South Florida can keep this game close against Miami, Alex Orji becomes a real part of this conversation to take over at Florida. And that's because he's 25-1 right now. You're saying, Kenz, why are we talking about a guy who's 25-1? A bunch of guys ahead of him don't make sense. I just don't think odds makers are really paying attention to this market yet. Deion Sanders is ahead of him right now. I can tell you right now, he is not going to be the next head coach of Florida based off the way Colorado's season is going. There's a ton of SEC guys that have taken over after Urban, so you really think, unless you're an SEC assistant, I doubt you're going to be taking over this head coach job. So we kind of funneled down to like 6 guys with real potential. And I think if South Florida can keep this close, it really comes down to Alex Orji and it comes down to Georgia's defensive coordinator, Glenn Schumann. So I think at 25-1, this will be the best you're going to get. This should go to like 10-1, maybe 9-1 if they keep this within 10 points, which should give them a 40% chance to do.
All we need to do is sprinkle in a Florida State mix somewhere in here, and we'll get the quad of all of the Florida schools here. Chip, what do you make of Mackenzie's bold prediction there about the South Florida coach maybe taking over at Miami?
Well, yeah, and what he's going to do is he's going to ride the train of Josh Heupel, because that is the style of offense that USF plays with. It is you spread all the way to the very edges of the sideline, spitting on the sideline type splits is what they say. You play at a fast tempo. What they have with Byron Brown at quarterback is somebody with a little bit of dual threat ability who can go and make you pay if you spend too much of your defense worried about the downfield passing attack. That is a style that has a coaching tree that, as Tennessee continues to have success, another SEC rival like a Florida or another top program in the country is going to find very attractive. I will say that in this spot, one thing that I'm looking at is whether USF wants to, run up the score, because remember last year's game against Alabama, lower scoring, and this year when it was tight late, it was also lower scoring, because when you create more possessions, you create more opportunities for the talent gap to be exposed. It actually works against what you would think of with Alex Orji, because he needs to keep this game tight, limit possessions, and then hope that you've got the playmaking at the end to go pull an upset.
I know our resident Gator fans upstairs are wanting more of a splashy hire there at that position after Billy Napier, but we'll have to see how it works out. Chip Patterson, Mackenzie Brooks joining us to talk what if in the college football slate. And what if you kick it with us here on CBS Sports this weekend? Well, this is what you'll get. You'll get USC at Michigan in our game of the week, kicking off at 3:30 Eastern. We've got an awesome pregame show coming your way at 3 o'clock. Our crew will be on site at the Big House as Lincoln Riley and USC make their Big Ten debut against the defending national champion.